Jose, can you verify for me that that went live?
Yeah.
Please and thank you, sir.
I think that's the first time we've ever said please and thank you
Yeah.
to either one of us.
I disagree with that
We're
completely.
live. We're live.
I disagree with that entirely. Yeah, so we're now live, which is 6:30, which is usually we tell people 6:30, and as long as we make it before 6:40, it's a win on our side. We've been doing this for 229 episodes, and we still find ourselves not knowing how to do it every week. But that's just the nature of the beast. All right. Do you have any questions for us? Anything you want to know or need to know before we jump in?
Let's see where it goes.
Okay.
It's always fun.
All right. You guys all ready?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're starting. All right. We're gonna get started. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it is 6:30 on a Tuesday night. We are live on YouTube on 6:30 on Tuesday nights like we are every week. We are joined tonight by Amy Lerner, who, as you will learn very, very shortly here, is a very accomplished off-road racer, adventurer, and filmmaker. How are you doing tonight, Amy?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you so much for
Terrific.
joining us. Appreciate it. I think it was on LinkedIn that you and I connected, and I was like, or was it one of the social media? I forget. And it was when there was some posts about your new film, One More Win, and I'm super interested to learn about that, and we'll get there in just a minute. But I want to learn about you, and like I had said earlier, you're a very accomplished off-roader. Let's start there. Like, what kind of off-road events have you been involved in over the course of your career?
So I started about 10 years ago, and I've had an opportunity to do quite a wide array of events because for me, it's not a career particularly. So I can kind of pick and choose. And if I'm going to do an event, I like to go do a big event. So I tend to go to the, week-long rally raid. So I started out at the Gazelle Rally in Morocco, which is a 10-day long all women's navigational rally across southern Morocco. Followed that up with the Australasian Safari Rally, which is a 35-ish 100-kilometer race, a speed rally over 7 days, I believe that was. And then I'm probably going to get some of these wrong in the order, but I've also competed at the Rebelle Rally, the Mid 400 a couple of times, and most recently the Dakar Rally a couple of times.
So any one of those is a bucket list event for someone that enjoys the off-roading and those kinds of things. And you've done many of them. I think let's go back to off-roading. You said you started the racing 10 years ago. When did you start off-roading and outdoors and adventuring?
10 years ago.
So what you're telling me is in the last 10 years, you've accomplished more than I could ever imagine doing this for 30. That's awesome.
We're doing it wrong.
And I slept in a tent for the first time.
Oh, wow. So 10 years ago. So what was your background prior to that? I mean, did you do any outdoor stuff at all? Or was 10 years when you got into this rally thing the beginning?
In terms of, outdoor adventure type stuff. Yeah, that was really the start of that as well. I grew up, my dad was a collector of antique cars. So as soon as I was big enough to hold a steering wheel, I was, 3 years old in my little pigtail sitting out there with my hands on the wheel while he's trying to get the Model T cranked. So I've always loved cars and took a Skip Barber racing school at one point and then got pregnant. So after my Wall Street career, I had 2 kids and they were both, I guess, 8 and 10. And I happened to read an article in the New York Times about this thing in Morocco called the Gazelle Rally. And it just, something about it was really compelling. And it caught my eye and I learned what it entailed and figured out how to get myself there and how I could go. And that started it for me. And I just loved it and wanted to see, okay, that challenge, check. What's the next one I can do to take it a little further and do a little better? So that was kind of been my path.
So you grow up around cars. Somehow that translate to a corporate Wall Street career. How long did you do Wall Street?
That dozen years, 12 years.
Okay. So you spend 12 years financial, I don't know anything about Wall Street. I'm just an air conditioning guy. So
A lot of cursing, a lot of yelling.
I was
going to
say, so
it sounds like construction.
I'm assuming you're throwing tickets around, buy, sell.
Yelling,
I picture you say Wall Street,
trading places.
Trading places.
That's
Yes,
it. Yeah.
Yes.
Eddie Murphy.
Sell, you idiot. Yeah.
100%. When you say Wall Street, I picture trading places. That's like my only representation of that.
Are all those Wall
was...
Street movies playing in the background on Wall Street, like just as like a, must have in the Wall Street office? Like...
Well, no, but I will say Wolf of Wall Street did give me some unpleasant flashbacks.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was the era of my career, was some of that lovely, yes, I've seen dwarf tossing and
wow.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Falling.
That makes me love that
Ever
movie even more.
Yes, that is
Yes.
insane. So
I'm
you
watching that after this.
So you lived the heyday of Wall Street, and did you? So you stopped when you started having kids. Was that like? Yeah. Was that a conscious, like, okay, I'm going to I want to have a family now, so I'm going to stop doing this? Was that like something you decided, or was it just like a circumstance where you kind of found yourself in that role?
I had always hoped to, be able to be home with my kids for a period of time. And, my husband and I was fortunate that it worked out, that we were able to make that work. So
I think that's, it goes both ways, right? When you think about that for women in corporate America that find themselves, pregnant, ready to have a family, it sometimes it works out great where the office they understand it and everything, you come right back, everything's fine. But in a lot of cases, that is like a demarking point in a career to decide to do something completely different, right? And it sounds like you went the demarking route, ended up staying at home for a while. And were you stir crazy at all? I mean, like when you stopped doing Wall Street, was that where you're like a little bit?
I mean, I was, but I also had the ability at the time to trade from my pajamas on the couch. Electronic trading was starting to come to be. So I was able to kind of keep that need to have that sort of activity in my life satisfied without going into an office.
Okay.
So that was helpful.
So you're able to, so you could scratch the itch, but you didn't have to dive back in full.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Didn't have to have the full corporate experience. So that was good.
That's awesome. And during your time in Wall Street, was there any part of you that thought beyond that to, I'm going to do adventures down the road, or were you?
Yeah. Did that seem like completely out of the realm of reality? Like, was that something even you had any interest in at that time?
I kind of always thought that I would get back to something automotive, probably thinking that it was more likely to be road racing because, I grew up on Long Island and it's a big New York City suburb. There's not a lot of off-road trails. I think you can drive on one of the beaches, or maybe not anymore. But so it really wasn't anything that was on my radar at all because I knew nothing about it until I read that article and I, put it in front of my husband and I said, "Here, honey, I found my midlife crisis." It was that far afield for me. It was nothing I had ever done, including the camping.
I find that absolutely amazing and like intriguing that for someone like me that's been doing this for a long time, and then to make the leap to go, I'm going to go do a rally or a race or whatever, that's not very much of a leap. But for someone to not have any exposure to that lifestyle or experience, and then something clicks that compels you to do it, and not only do it, but do it at a high level, at high risk, that. Could you describe what that was? Is there anything that you can point to that says that's what made that happen?
I think having it be so far afield might have almost made it easier. Because I didn't come from going, okay, I know that this can happen and I know that that can happen. And I know that I should have this vehicle. I should be prepared this way, which isn't to say that I went into it unprepared. I had my first off-road driving lesson from Rod Hall back here. So it was, I got a good start, and, the training that we got ahead of time really prepared us in terms of vehicle prep and safety and all that stuff, but not knowing what to expect, I think actually enabled me to go and take that leap, because there were a whole lot of things I didn't even know I should worry about.
Ignorance is bliss, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
There's, we would sit around and talk about all the reasons why we couldn't or shouldn't, and you're like, no, let's just go do this. And I think,
what's the worst that can happen? I mean, yes, obviously there are, anytime you go off road in a vehicle, bad things can happen if you're not careful and cautious. But by nature, I tend to be more cautious, which is surprising if you think of the things that I do, but I do them with a lot of research and a lot of training and a lot of study and a lot of, prepare for the worst case scenarios, redundancies, I'm actually pretty conservative.
Well, and in some of the events that you've mentioned, like Dakar and Gazelle Rally, that conservative approach could be what allows you to actually finish and or win, as opposed to just going balls out and wrecking the vehicle, the second sand dune in. I don't know. I don't know that cautious is necessarily a bad skill set when it comes to off-road racing.
Particularly in the longer events or the multi-day rallies, or like a Baja 1000, where you can't just go as fast as you can for an hour and hope the car makes it to the line. You've got a long time to go.
That's why me and Matt can't do that.
Yes, I was.
I'm looking for a car that can keep up with what I need it to do. And that's the problem.
Yeah, that's
I haven't
why
found one.
that's why we don't do that. Is because it'd be like, okay, you do the first leg, I'll run the second leg. There would be no second leg. The truck would never make it to the first checkpoint with these guys. So what was the process like of reading the article and saying, okay, I want to do this? I have to imagine that at that point you have no idea how to get involved or register or what equipment, like how long, what was that span of time, and what was that process like of ramping up to a point where you could do your first event?
It actually was not too difficult, because the article was about a woman named Emily Miller, who has since gone on to found the Rebelle Rally.
Yep.
And her partner, who were competing, and that was sort of the focus of the article. And as I went online and went into the Rally Asia de Gazelle's website and learned what I could, her name came up with a phone number and an email to contact if you were in the United States and you were interested. And at the time, we were the American team that went. That first year, it was a whole bunch of French women and my sister and I.
Yeah. What was that experience like? I mean, not only traveling, it's one thing to travel abroad, but to travel abroad and then get dropped in the middle of nowhere and have to survive. Like, did you have anxiety about that, or were you prepared enough to where you thought, it'd be fine?
I was mostly prepared. You also hand in your cell phone and your laptop, and they tape over the GPS in your car. So not only are you disconnected from anything electronic that can help you, you're disconnected from your family and your friends and your support network. So you really are just kind of dropped in it. So again, ignorance is bliss. You have to figure it out. You can't phone a friend because you don't have your phone. So you really need to dig into your brain and your willpower and your fortitude and your creativity and solve your own problems, because nobody else will.
I would have, dropped into that same scenario. Like, Matt, you're going to a foreign country. You're going to race a bunch of French people. Like, all right, I'll take that flag. Like the French. Come on, French.
French people can race. I want to go back real quick. You said that you and your sister.
Against me?
Yeah. You and your sister were the American team that year. How did you convince your sister to do this? What was that conversation like?
That one took a little bit, but wasn't that long. She and I had the same background. We traveled together. She actually, camped and hiked and had done all that stuff. She told me how to show me how to put up the tent. So she had a lot more experience on that side of it, but she was game. She figured worst case, we're going to a place we've never been and we'll have a heck of a time.
Yeah, it'll be an experience.
Yeah.
So the process of going to that first event. So you figure it out, you get there, you compete. How did you do in that first event?
Ooh, I actually don't remember the specific number of our ranking, but I will just say we learned a lot.
So that was going to be the next thing. Like, I would imagine that jumping into an event like that for the first time, there's got to be, you either come out of that and go, that was horrible, I will never do that again, or wins the next one. And it sounds like you took the second choice of wins the next one. What was it about?
Absolutely.
What was it about that event that made you go further?
Probably a lot of it was my own competitive nature and getting through it and learning what needed to be done to do it well in situ. In a lot of situations, no matter how much you train, until you actually do it, you don't understand what it takes to succeed. So we went and we learned and we watched and we figured out where we screwed up and, what we did wrong to try to go back and do it right. And then the second year that we went back to the Gazelle Rally, we finished 8th out of 150.
Wow.
So it was worth paying attention.
Yeah. And has your sister went back with you the second time?
Yep.
Are you still racing with your sister in these other events?
She and I haven't raced together actually, no, we did the Mint 400 in a Polaris side by side, I think 3 years ago. We took turns. We were each driving, but she ended up just basically going to Baja and not leaving because she loves it down there. And she has raced the Nora a number of times. She's raced the Mint a couple of times, and she just whips up and down the peninsula in a side by side every chance you can get, driving and co-driving.
What vehicle were you in the first for that first event?
For the first Gazelle was a very poorly prepped rental H3, a Hummer.
So you when you landed at the airport in France, did you just like rent a 4-wheel drive vehicle and go out, or was it one of the company?
It was arranged ahead of time, but I kind of got the impression that the guys at with the dealership in Paris were like, oh shoot, we need one more, what's in the back? And they just pulled it out, dusted it off. It's like, here's a shovel, off you go.
Okay.
I imagine like that scene in what's that Tom Cruise movie, the
Top Gun Maverick?
No, the freaking NASCAR one where they
Days of Thunder. Come on.
Days of Thunder, where they go beat the crap out of those rental cars and then just return it.
Yeah.
That's why you get the insurance, so you can beat the crap out of them.
Yeah.
What? So you mentioned the H3,
and then you blame Days of Thunder. Like, I saw it on Days of Thunder. Tom Cruise did it, and then they just let you go.
I'm sure that works.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I'm sure it does.
It doesn't. I promise. So the H3, you mentioned a side by side. What other vehicles have you raced these events in, and which one was your favorite?
That question is tough, but the second Gazelle Rally was in a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon that was built for us by American Expedition Vehicles.
Yep.
And it was phenomenal. I mean, that vehicle, go anywhere, do anything, nothing broke. I never had to hesitate because the goal of it is to get from point to point in the shortest distance. So that means traveling over terrain that can be almost impassable, but you have to decide if you're going to make it or not. And having that vehicle equipped the way it was enabled me to be just like, I can drive that. I got it. All right, straight, let's go. I got it. So that was an incredible experience to do that. And then I took that same Jeep to Australia for the Australasian Safari Rally and actually drove it fast, which is not really what it was built for, but it held up really well and we ended up with a top 10 finish, won my class, won overall production. Another highlight of my vehicles was the Mint 400 that I raced with Shelby Hall, who was Rod Hall's granddaughter, in his 1969 Baja 1000 overall winning Bronco.
Yes.
Wow. Which was terrifying because it was this piece of history and at the same time super fun. And I think it was a way that Rod said thank you to me for, doing the film and believing that it was a story worth telling and putting all the effort that we did in to capture it. And I think it was his way to say, appreciate it and take my Bronco. And confidence that I wasn't going to wreck it.
Yeah. And then you also had you just sold a Porsche, like a fully rallied out Porsche 911, right?
Yep. So in 2020, I was having a moment of COVID-induced hysteria, I think. And ASO had announced that they were going to be doing this new initiative with the Dakar Rally called the Dakar Classic, which was going to run along the same tracks as the main rally, but it was going to be regularity. And it was going to be for rally vehicles from prior to 2000. And around like October 15th, I think, with the registrations closing October 30th, I thought, gee, wouldn't that be fun to do? So I called a friend who works for the rally, and he hooked me up with another friend, and they came up with one vehicle for sale and two for rent. And the two for rent were two different Land Rovers at the same amount of money as the 1982 Porsche that was fully equipped and had won some rallies to buy. So I was like, of course, I'm buying the Porsche. And took it to Dakar, and it was incredible. It was so much fun.
I bet I would love the opportunity to go on dirt in a vehicle like that. Low, light, powerful. You know,
Yep.
we've
It's 2018
the
Frontier,
Nissan Frontier.
Nissan
Yeah.
Frontier Pro 4X.
But I think something like that would be just so much fun in the desert. What you talked about? You did some street racing. How would you compare the Porsche in the dirt with that kind of low center of gravity and power to how it feels in a street race?
It's much more similar a feel, but obviously you lose your traction a lot, but you learn to work with it. So for me, I had a super steep learning curve because everything I had raced before had been 4-wheel drive. And then I get in this 2-wheel drive manual transmission, rear engine, sports car. So first year, maybe my driving wasn't so great, but last year, we like barely got stuck, whipped past people in their SUVs, stuck on the side of the riverbed. And I'm just like, see ya. But it was so much fun because you slide through the turns, and it's got the power to get up things and through things, and not a lot of clearance. So you got to watch the rocks, but the fun factor makes up for it. Yeah. My co-driver just giggled the whole time.
I would imagine it's way more critical to pick a line in that Porsche than it was in the Rubicon that you talked about, that you could drive over anything.
Yep. Because it doesn't hold.
Yeah.
At speed and loose stuff, it just slides, but you learn to work the slides.
I would probably equate it to a dirt bike, like, and Matt will chime in here, where you have an idea where you want to point the front end, and then you punch it, and the back end pushes you somewhere in that direction.
Yeah. Well, you have to have equal control of the rear end as well. It's throttle control, right? You're coming out of your power sliding into something. You got to keep that throttle steady and all the way through the turn. Again, it's as equally amount as much control in the rear as it is in the front. So
yeah.
As far as dirt bikes, I don't know about Porsches. I don't know about Porsches on the street in the dirt, rear engine cars. I don't know about. He tagged me in for dirt bikes.
Yes, for dirt bikes. Okay, so that's a really good wrap up of, I think, giving people the idea of your racing career and kind of where it started. But help me understand how 10 years ago you hit dirt for the first time. And prior to that, you were in Wall Street. Somewhere along this journey over the last 10 years, you said to yourself, you know what I'm going to do? Because I haven't taken on enough challenges. I'm going to make a movie. And you decided to make a movie about Rod Hall called One More Win. When did you make the decision to do that, and why?
It wasn't completely out of left field. It was mostly out of left field because I knew nothing about the process, but I had been approached to be the subject of a documentary about women in motorsports a few years prior. And I'm not personally super motivated by being a star, being on the camera. So I said, oh, sure. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm kind of boring. I don't know if it's going to work out. And it ended up not working out, which was great. But I asked a lot of questions along the way and thought, oh, that's kind of an interesting process. Maybe someday I'll think about something. And then ran into Rod at the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame award ceremony in Vegas in 2015. And we were just catching up. After that first training session, he and I stayed in touch. He was a mentor to me. We would speak every so often, do events and stuff like that. So I hadn't seen him in a little bit, but he was telling me that in 2017 was his 50th consecutive Baja 1000. And that he was, maybe for the first time thinking about retiring, and he was getting a little tired, and maybe that would be it for him. And he, wasn't sure if he was going to get there, but he knew everybody was looking forward to it. And, I'd heard his stories over the years, and I knew that he had never been the subject of a documentary or a biography or anything significant. Tons of newspaper articles and other media, but not one intense thing. So I called him that next day and I said, Rod, I have a crazy idea. I said, how about you give me a chance to take the story of these 2 years leading up to this, history making 50th consecutive Baja 1000 and wrap it around all of these cool stories that you told and your history and your 50 years in off-road racing, because he was there at the birth of that sport in Baja.
Yeah.
And everything that he accomplished, which is a phenomenal level of things through those years that led up to this moment and this sort of, put the cherry on the cake of his career. And he said, well, Amy, people have been asking me over the years, can I do a book? Can I do a movie? And I always said no, but because you're the one asking, I'm going to say yes.
Oh, how awesome.
I was like, oh, okay, thanks, Rod. Hung up the phone, did a little cartwheel and went, how do I make a movie? Now I have to figure out how to make a movie. So that was what started it.
So
I have to make a documentary. How do I do that?
I feel like you're a dangerous person in that there's a switch in you that once it switches, you are 100% in. Like if you decide to do something, you're 100% in. And I say dangerous in that, I can imagine your husband, hey, I'm going to make a documentary. All right. I know there's nothing I can do to stop you.
That's pretty much what happens.
I could totally tell.
Much happened.
You have pretty much decided you're going to do this and you're not going to stop until it's done. And that's amazing, especially when you consider the breadth of topics and things that you've tackled that are so far outside of your comfort zone on each one. So it's commendable. I guess I'm super impressed by that. So the fact that Rod Hall wasn't hadn't had a documentary, that you're right. That is surprising, and that sounds like because he wouldn't let anybody do it. But I mean, he is a name synonymous with off-road racing. When you hear the name, you know exactly who you're talking about, and I couldn't have told you how long he'd been doing it, but I knew it was a long time, and I feel like that's, you talked about him saying okay and giving back, right, and letting you take the Bronco, and I, you connecting with him on a personal level gave him the confidence to allow you to tell his story.
Yeah, that absolutely made a difference. Because it's a big thing to agree to let someone into your life with a camera to record all of those moments that you don't have any control over. And with his sons and his granddaughter and his wife, and they're all involved in the racing, and there are dynamics there. And, you have to trust the person that you allow to do that. So the fact that we had a nice relationship beforehand and had known each other for so many years, he knew that I would treat his life and his story with respect and dignity and honor his accomplishments, and not, I wasn't making, the Real Housewives of off-road racing.
Yeah. And especially for someone like him that was there at the very beginning, he clearly was dedicated. He dedicated his life to this, he this wasn't just I'm an off-road racer. It was like he committed so much of his life to this.
It was his career.
It's something that was, I would assume, very near and dear to him personally. And to your point, it's hard to let go of that, or at least open it up. So let's talk about Rod for a little bit. So he passed away in 2019. And at the time, he was the winningest off-road racer, Baja. He was the only one that won it how many times? What was, when you started the documentary, where did you pick to the starting point? Like, did you go all the way back to tell the story, or was it from the time you met? And full disclosure, we just talked about this before we started recording. If we were good at what we did, we would have watched it before having her on, but I forgot to watch it, so I'm going to watch it after. So go to onemorewin film.com and get the links to go watch it.
Well, I will try to not give you too many spoilers.
Okay.
There are a couple moments that you will not necessarily expect, but so I wanted to tell the story of Rod's entire career. And we started in terms of the history of his racing with that first Baja 1000 in 1967. And Rod had raced in California a little bit before and had been getting a name for himself on some of the dirt track circuits, and heard about this race in Mexico and thought, hey, that's fun. And, Donna packed a cooler and he threw a couple of tools in a bag. They went and bought an old Jeep from some lady who only drove it on Sundays, and off they went to Mexico. And, so he was at that bull ring in 1967, and I think he won his class in that first race. And 2 years later, he was driving for Bill Stropp's team, probably one of the first factory teams, same livery on multiple vehicles, etc. And he won overall, which was ahead of the motorcycles, ahead of anything. And still, I think the only time a four-wheel drive vehicle has won the Baja 1000 overall.
Wow.
And he went on in that race to be the only person to race in every single edition up to that 50th, as he'd like to say. Everybody else graduated. So that was, just speaking to the longevity, because that last race was, the finish line of the last race was 3 days before his 80th birthday.
Wow, that is insane. And that's not a leisurely Sunday drive. I mean, we do a dirt road on a Sunday, and I struggled to get to work on Monday. I can't imagine being 80 after a whole career of doing that.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. And he actually, at that 50th race, that was his 25th class win, which he put him in the Guinness World Record books. So he's, for the average percentage of cars and bikes that enter the Baja 1000 that finish is about 50%. And Rod won 50% of his races. Wow.
It's crazy.
So it's great to think about how good this guy was.
So what would, after taking some lessons from him and knowing the man and learning, what do you think attributed to that? What made him that good?
He loved what he did, first of all, and he also knew that he knew how to drive. And you'll see in the film, he's like, I didn't read well, I didn't write well, but I knew what to do behind the wheel of a car. And he knew how to get everything out of a vehicle plus 1 mile an hour and get to the finish line. And that's how he would describe it. And it's a great visual to think of. You're saying, I'm not going to, no car's going to have enough throttle for me, but you have to think about it as, I've got to get I can only get what it can give me. And then maybe it'll give me just a tiny bit more. And that's what's going to get me on the podium.
I think 100% somehow I relate to that. Like, you just know, with experience or whatever, I know how fast I can go comfortably and safely in this vehicle. Maybe it's a vibe or something, like, I don't like the way something's rattling. Time to shut it down, drop a gear or whatever. I'm talking like I've raced things, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I've certainly pushed my dirt bike, and I certainly pushed that little truck I have. And I feel that, like, you know what? I know how hard I can push it. And I know when, like, let's say,
when the toilet paper is about to fly out.
Yeah, when Kevin Jones is about barreling down on you, you're like, you know what? I'm going to let him go ahead and go by.
But I will say, Matt, we've talked about this. So Matt has a 2018 Nissan Frontier. It's got a suspension lift on it and 33-inch tires. It's a production vehicle. He bombs the shit out of that thing. And it's impressive to watch him squeeze every bit. And the only reason you don't have that experience is because we don't have the ability to sit in a race truck. But I fully believe that if you were in a race truck, you would be able to do those things.
I don't think so. But I just say that.
I'm trying to give you a compliment, man.
Thank you, but I know reality. There's like a point. I play baseball too. When you see somebody that played at a top college or whatever, and they throw you something 95 with movement, and you go, "Oh no, I had no chance of playing pro ball." What an idiot I was. So I'll say the same thing as far as racing.
I think you don't give yourself enough credit. So during that time of making the film, did you learn anything about Rod that, and again, don't give it away if it's part of the film, but was there something about the process of learning more about the man that made you step back and just like think differently about him or the sport, or I mean, was there a moment where you're like, oh my, that's amazing? Like, what was that moment?
I'll tell you a funny story. The first weekend of the training, we were down in the Imperial Sand Dunes, and Rod's there in his huge H1, and he's just this like, aw shucks, humble guy. He's not big in stature. He's not very physically imposing. And he's just kind of standing around. And we go off and drive and we get lost. And I'm like, well, what do we do? What do we do? What does Amy think we should do? And he's looking around like, I'm like, does he really know what he's doing? I don't understand who this guy is and why is he teaching? Because he just seems to be asking me what I would do. I don't understand. And we went out to dinner. We went out to dinner at a restaurant right by the dunes and walk in and are looking for a table. And all of a sudden I hear, shh, it's Rod Hall. It's Rod Hall. That's Rod Hall. I'm thinking, is this guy Beyonce? What did I miss? So I went home, of course, and I Googled and I had a sense of who he was and what he had done. But it still didn't really hit me until we went down to film the Mexican 1000 in 2016. And Rod and I are walking from the parking lot at the convention center of Ensenada, through the convention center out to where contingency is. And he could not go 2 steps without someone stopping him. Rod, can I have your autograph? Can I take a picture? You're my hero. You're such an inspiration. I saw you when you did this, and it was one of the most amazing moments of my life. I mean, I had known him for, 8 years at that point, and I had no idea. I had no idea.
You know what I find interesting about that is you make the point that he's someone that would be forgettable. Like if you just met him on the street, he's not imposing, he's not and humble, yet in the background he's this amazing, accomplished, professional driver that almost defined what the sport is when you go back to where he started, right? And that level, I would love to be at that level of performance and achievement and accomplishment, to be like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I'm just, I mean, it's like, I think all of us are always on, well, I'm not, most of us have this, like, okay, I'm striving for the next thing and I'm trying to prove myself and I want to be good at what I'm doing. And I bet when you get to his level, you're like, I don't know what else I could do to be, any more than I am today. So I'm just going to be me. And he brought that level of humility to your training session, and it wasn't, that had to be pretty memorable.
Yeah, it was amazing, and that's why I think people really loved him, because he was so accessible and he was kind of an everyman, and it wasn't just his demeanor. He would stop and talk to you, and you had a racing question, he would tell you his racing question. He saw you struggling on your truck, he'd walk over and, oops, sorry about that.
It's okay.
And, he'd walk over and say, hey, what you doing? You got any, can I help you out with anything? Can I give you some suggestions? And just, that's who he was. He was just loving it and wanted to share it. And if he could help you out and teach you something, he was going to do it.
Hey, that sound, was that like somebody sending us money? Isn't that the sound like,
no,
you did it?
I forgot to.
That was not us?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
It's not. She's playing Candy Crush. That's how. So how long did it overall, from start to finish? How long did it take to? Well, let's do 2 pieces. How long did it take to film, and then how long did it take once filming was done to get edited and released?
So we filmed from the beginning of 2016 through the end of 2017. So 2 years of filming, bunch of different races, some events. And then the editing actually took almost 2 years, because the first edit was a great rough cut for me. And I showed it to people who didn't know off-road racing, and they're like, what's going on? I don't understand. Is this the same race? So just the basic things of, this is how the NORA race works. This is how the Baja 1000 works. This is why you're trying to do this. And this is the goal here. We had to go back, and actually Shelby Hall did an amazing job. We went and filmed another interview with her with some very specific questions, and it really filled the gaps and made everything so much clearer. So now, if you know nothing about off-road racing, you will be able to follow the film and understand what's going on.
That's interesting that you say that, because racing in general, motorsports, off-road, any specialty like that has its own words and its own, vernacular. And it's really easy for someone that's been in it to just talk about Nora. Well, who's Nora? I don't know who this Nora is, right? It's not a person. And it probably, I'm glad that, somebody else watched it and that's the part that they honed in on, and you listened to that and made those edits. Yeah. So 2 years of editing, is that normal? I don't know.
No, that was also my editor is in the UK. So there was time and he was phenomenal. I mean, he did such a lovely job, and just fell in love with the whole Hall family, and really just treated everything, as I would have wanted it to be handled. But so there was probably a little more time of back and forth, because typically, the producer and director, they'll sit next to the editor and be like, oh, no, move that screen, move that. I like this way. How about this? So he would do a piece. I would review it. We'd talk about it. So the whole process itself, just because of the geography, was probably a little bit longer.
Okay.
And I'd never done it before. So I could, kind of convey how I wanted it to be, but how I wanted it to be didn't necessarily make sense the first time around. And then it was the issue of the timeline, because weaving a timeline of history around a timeline of actual events that are unfolding, and dipping in and out of those two timelines and having it make sense also took some time and some challenges. And then how we dealt with Rod's health issues that came up, and how we wove that into the story in a way that was compelling and also truthful and impactful.
Yeah. I picture, like, with any like this type of a movie production or whatever, I picture a 20-foot long whiteboard
or whatever,
and like a start and a finish is a straight line, but then there's 85 branches that come off and scribbles because that one didn't work, and how we weave that back in. I mean, was that process going on in your mind this whole time as you were doing it?
Oh, entirely. Yeah. And that was part of the problem, was that whiteboard was in my head. I couldn't give it to somebody to look at and tell me what was wrong with it.
That's funny. Yeah.
I learned a lot of the process.
That was going to be my next thing. Like, before we go further, like, you've done this once. What's the next movie?
Yeah. I might be working on somebody else's project, which also involves rally and racing on a global scale.
It's not a documentary about four guys making a podcast in a spare bedroom of their house? Because I think that's a good
only
story.
If your mom brings you Pop-Tarts.
You know what? This said, hold on. This doesn't have to be like a documentary. It could be sci-fi. That'd be pretty exciting.
I don't know. I don't know how we would tie sci-fi in.
Give me some time.
Okay,
you'll
figure it out. You'll figure it out. Yeah. So, but again, going back to that switch in your head, that once you decide to do something, is this a process that you're now getting deeper into and you want to do more?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a couple of things that I'm working on early stages. And as I said, I was just asked to kind of step in and handle part of somebody else's project, which is, sorry to be super mysterious, but it's not my project, so I can't really talk about it.
I honestly didn't expect you to tell me straight out. But I think
I've started a documentary on Barry Bonds. Like, I don't know. Oh, wow, that's amazing.
I find it interesting. So going back to, like, a kid in high school that, the counselor tells them, you have to know what you're going to do with the rest of your life today at 17 years old, and you have to put this path together. And you've almost had 3 completely different lives in the span of 20 years, in Wall Street, in off-road racing, and now going into film, that I'm assuming you didn't plan on when you were 17. I mean, going back to that time, you made that decision to go into finance or whatever. Did you think you had the skill sets or capability to do the things that you have subsequently done?
If you had asked me back when I was in my early 20s if I could have done those things, of course I would have said yes. You're young and you're confident. I don't know. I think it doesn't hurt to try. I've been fortunate that the things that I've tried, I've ended up doing okay.
Just okay.
But I still would try. I still would have tried them anyway. Even if I was less confident that I would have done well.
I like going back to the off-road racing. Your the ignorance is bliss piece, where you didn't think about all of the potential things that could go wrong and the failures, so you didn't worry about it and you just charged forward. I would be willing to bet that when it came to making the film, it was like, what's the worst that could happen? It's 2 years wasted of film, nothing comes out. Whatever, I'm going to move on. And
Right.
and that lack of fear or that lack of concern about the perception of failure seems to be what helps carry you forward. If you don't mind me saying, it's like it's almost like not in a cocky or a laissez-faire way, but in a way of like, failure doesn't matter to me. I'm going to do this because I'm passionate about it, and it propels you to success.
Yeah, and I think it's also that I've always been able to look at a loss or a failure or a mistake as, you accept it, you process it, and then what do you learn from it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I figured. With that first rally, if I hated it, that was the end of it. If I liked it, but I didn't do well, what did I learn? And how do I do better if I want to do it again? So. Mm-hmm.
That's
same kind of thing.
That is super impressive and compelling to hear the story of someone just deciding they're going to do something and then going out and doing it successfully, and then that opens the door to another opportunity, and you make that switch. I'm going to go do this and go out and do it successfully. So the one more win. Let's go back to when was the film released?
It was released in January this year.
Okay. And then you said it's available on most streaming platforms?
Most streaming platforms. Yep. Amazon and iTunes.
Okay.
The big ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can go find that at onemorewinfilm.com. You can go to the links there. You talked a little bit about the Hall family, and I know you spend a lot of time with them. Are you still in contact with them? Do you still touch base with Shelby?
Yeah, I touch base. Shelby's been working for Ford and helping them with a lot of their Bronco programs. So she's all over the country, and it looks like having a blast. But we text now and again, and Don and I text now and again, and stay in touch. Yeah.
How was what was their reception of the film?
They were, from what they said, they all were really happy that it was done. It was very difficult what Rod went through in his last year or so, or a little less. But to see that his whole life was captured in that way, and his accomplishments, and what really comes through is not so much that this was a man that was a winner all the time, which he mostly was, but that he was a man who had a profound positive impact on so many people. And I probably have another, 10, 20 hours of footage of interviews of people that I didn't even know had played a role in, Rod's life over time, and came up and said, I heard you're doing this film. I really want to tell you this story about this time that Rod and I XYZ. And it was tough to choose which ones to put in. There really were that many.
I can imagine. So let's talk about what you learned. You brought that up. So what is the big takeaway after you make a documentary? What's your big learning piece of advice?
Oh my goodness. It's going to sound like a trite cliche, but if you have an idea and you really believe that something is worthwhile doing it, just keep going and ask questions and talk to people. And, it's not really novel advice, but it worked for me. And I ended up with a phenomenally talented, deeply experienced crew of people that worked with me on the film, because I think I believed in the story and told the story really well. And for a while they were working for cappuccinos.
Look, that's that seems like pretty consistent advice from people like yourself that we've interviewed in the past, and it's people that are driven and are doing what they love, and it seems like it just kind of attracts like the people that also are inspired by that same affection or whatever, and it's like every time we have an interview like this, like, well, why don't I do something? What's wrong with us? Like, let's do it, guys. and whatever. I guess that's the point. It's like, well, what would we be willing to go all in for?
But I think that you say it's cliche, but there are people every day that have an idea that believe in something, and then somebody talks them out of it, whether that be themselves or their immediate family or that friend that they told about the idea, and there's enough question that it talks them out of it and they go away. And then 2 years down the road, that idea they had is now a reality because somebody else took the chance. Somebody else did it.
Yeah.
Dave and Buster's. I invented Dave and Buster's before.
Okay.
No, here we go again.
That's not why I wanted to. I didn't bring it up so I could hear about your dumb Dave and Buster's
So anyway,
story again.
what I'm saying
Here we
is,
go
it's
again.
food and video games. Okay, what a world-beating idea. You know?
there's a history of me claiming to invent Dave and Buster's, by the way. So, but my point.
It's a horrible history. It's irrational. It just doesn't make any sense because he saw it opening at in Ontario. Like I thought.
I'm gonna get my buddy
silly.
from high school on the phone and an interview, and we're gonna talk
Do
about
it.
We did it.
You know what? Do it.
But my
I want to hear from him.
my point is, it's we had interviewed a guy that was an inventor, and he was talking about how he was getting ready to invent something, and he had shared it with someone, and they took it and they made it, and it's he was tentative about it, and so now when he's got an idea, that's it. He's tight-lipped. He's patenting the idea. He's all of those things. There's so much out there for people to go do, and if you're someone that has an idea that you don't see out in the world, do it before somebody else does. And I don't think that that's cliche, because to Matt's point, we've all heard it 1,000 times and we still don't do it.
Yeah, and it doesn't even need to be something big. I mean, I've had people come up to me and say, hey, I just got back from vacation in Jamaica or wherever, and my family wanted to go on the zip line, and I was terrified. I was so scared. I didn't want to do it. And then I thought, oh, Amy goes and drives these cars in the desert. If she can do that, I'm going to go on the zip line, or, I'm going to ride the ATV on the beach with my friends because Amy does that. Then at least I could do this. But every little thing that you do, you step out of your little box and you get confidence, and that confidence and comfort in your own abilities, it just goes throughout your whole life and everything you do.
Yeah, and I feel like that confidence is a muscle, just like everything else. Like once you exercise it and get some strength, you have some confidence for the next thing, and then if that goes well, or you learn something, you have confidence for the next thing, and it's a momentum thing. It's like being in a slump as a baseball player. If you can't hit, you're not going to hit. But when you're hitting the ball regularly, you've got that confidence to take on the next challenge. Matt's bobbing his head over there because he's our baseball expert.
I'm starting to think about playing ball again. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
You know what? I agree with that, and that's how I'm going to get the ball rolling. I'm going to start playing ball again. Get into a rhythm where I'm like, playing well, whatever, and then I'll be worthy of taking some crazy risk that my wife would probably kill me for even thinking about. But yeah, let's do that.
So besides the next film that you may or may not be working on, what is next for Amy Lerner? Like, what have you identified the next challenge yet? Or you laser focused on some of this filmmaking stuff for a while?
There's the couple of the filmmaking projects I'd like to get. There's one particular one that I want to get on in the process, because it's been, like you said, if you have the ideas and you have the ideas and you have the ideas, somebody else is going to do it. So this one I want to get going. But on the racing front, was considering the Rally du Maroc, which is 5 days of cross country rally in Morocco, or the Andalusia Rally, which is similar but in southern Spain.
And when do those events take
place? Those are
both
in October. The Andalusia Rally was supposed to have just happened about 2 weeks ago, but they had to postpone it because of wildfire risks, which is you Southern California guys should know that.
We are wildfire risk every day for eternity.
All year long.
Yeah. It's constant. So more racing. You're going to continue doing that. More films. That's super inspiring, and I love hearing your story, because it's the perfect example of how you can change the trajectory of your life and take a different path at any given moment to something completely different, and still find success and happiness in it. If you're not satisfied in doing what you're doing, make the decision. Make the decision to
Yeah.
change and do something different. And you're a perfect example of that.
Thank you.
So, for those of you that haven't already, go to onemorewinfilm.com to check out the film, see the video. You can find Amy at Team Lerner, Lerner, on social media. That's, I think, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. And
I don't TikTok.
yeah. TikTok's a weird
Too,
thing.
too old to TikTok.
Yeah, Casey's supposed to be doing TikToks for us, but he doesn't dance very well.
I'm not that pretty, and I don't know what kind of music to use nowadays.
The One More Win.
Do
film.
the Benny Hill theme.
Stop.
Just do all of your movies to like that. I think it's
Stop.
called Yakety Sax.
Stop.
Just do all your videos to that. Guaranteed success.
All right, done and done.
So, Amy, I really appreciate you coming on to tell the story. I think it's very compelling and interesting and inspiring. And I've said it a lot, but I mean it a lot.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next. And not only on the race side, but on the film side, and the things that you're working on. And we will be here when you're ready to talk about the next film. Please keep us in mind and let us know. We'll help promote that. But thank you so much for taking the time to come on and talk with us. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate chatting and getting to know you guys. It was a lot of fun, and thanks for the time.
All right, you have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
All right, you didn't hang up. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you for not hanging up on us.
Seriously, that was great. So great.
Thank you.
I love it. I love everything about the story. We are still live, by the way, so don't say anything that you don't want to. Yeah,
We're live on YouTube.
Live on YouTube, yeah. But super compelling all the way around, and I'm definitely gonna make a commitment to watch this, maybe even tonight. We will promote it. So what we'll do now is tomorrow after work, I will edit this show, and I will get it ready for release on Thursday. I usually post it Wednesday night. I'll send you an email when it's posted and say, it's available all these places. I'll make some social media posts so that we can share it. You're welcome.
Oh, great. Then I can.
Yeah,
yep.
you can welcome to share it on however you want. And then it'll be released. It'll be available for download on all the major platforms on Thursday morning. But yeah, going forward, if there's if there's anything else that we can do or help you promote or if there's something you need, let us know. We're very excited about this kind of stuff, and I didn't touch base on it too much because I think the listeners have heard it 1,000 times. I have a 6-year-old little girl, and watching women stop it. And I start.
What did I do?
Every time.
How's the animal tissue?
Every time I talk about my little girl, I tear up, and these guys make fun of me. But I have a 6-year-old little girl, and
we're mean.
And watching.
The only something I could say, because we do, like every time, here it goes,
yes.
And he, whatever. And I honestly, I think it's just we're just mean.
Yeah.
But
watching, we've interviewed a handful of women that have participated in the Rebel Rally and some of these other things, and watching women not only get into this sport that I love, but to be successful and have that propel them to bigger and better things is super inspiring to me. If, that my daughter, if she decides she wants to play in the dirt, then she's got people to look up to for that.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
Thank you for that. I'm always important about.
You're talking about me talking about playing in the dirt.
No,
okay.
I'm just it's. I think it's important. It's important for little girls to see this and know that it's available to them to do if that's what they want to do. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that's super great.
Okay, well, we will give you the rest of your evening, even though it's super late there now. Sorry to keep you up past your bedtime. And then we'll be communicating via email over the next couple days. Okay. And if you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Right. It was great to get to see you guys and meet you and all that fun.
You too.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.
Cody, you're making Tim cry now too.
Good. I told him I want to see video or it didn't happen.
Tim needs
I'm going
to
on
cry.
potty break.
Oh, okay.
You guys,
He did
go
give
ahead
me a
and
nice
continue.
compliment on my
Now's
calves,
your
though.
time. Now's your chance. like you.
Oh man, I'm tired. We got
So,
a pretty lively.
I
chat room.
freaking get pulled over yesterday morning, head down the 38 to go to a doctor's appointment. Going up this like, hey, have you guys ever been down the 38?
Hold on.
Yeah,
Is
right.
this
You
a
guys-
story we need to tell? Because we're not recording live. I mean, we are. Are you ready to tell the story, or you want to wait till Matt comes back?
I can wait till Matt comes back. I was just kind of
No.
killing the time.
Yeah, we'll let that. This is a story I want to hear.
Okay.
Jose? Any new reviews?
Let me check.
I feel like there was an email or a voicemail. I will check.
Some of the movie title suggestions are pretty funny in the chat room.
For our documentary.
Yeah.
I can
Yes.
only imagine.
Achilles, a trail chaser story.
It should be called Snapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are assholes.
Well, yeah, we got 2 new reviews.
Cody, how bad is that fan noise? Or you don't hear it?
I'm not even hearing it.
Okay.
I mean, not enough to notice.
Because it gets hot as balls in this fucking room.
Yeah, it's pretty bad here too. I need to.
It was
Oh,
worse.
with your air conditioner on, you mean?
Yes.
Oh.
It was worse with the old computer, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. The old computer sat right underneath where I'm at, and the exhaust on the power supply pointed at Jose's balls, and so
It was Christmas every Tuesday.
We were like, well, look, you already had a kid, you're done.
Yeah.
You don't need another one because we just melted everything. in his-
Jose, does your Land Cruiser have the ball chiller?
No, it has the ball warmer. Oh,
Well,
I mean, I guess it depends, yeah.
if you had
Yeah,
AC, would it have the ball chiller?
It has AC.
Okay, so it doesn't
But
have the vent that's under the
does.
steering wheel.
It does.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw a post that was like, bring back the ball chiller.
Ball chiller. Yeah. What the fuck?
Old cars, like old Volkswagens, had little vents that were in the fender that you'd open up and it
Yeah.
would go straight to your nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had shorts on. You kind of
Yeah,
fanned
just
them
kinda,
open
yeah.
a little. Tunnel. And then your passenger was like, "What's that smell?"
For Monday.
Perry G's just said on the chat room, Japan made online insults punishable by 1 year in prison. I'm so glad Cody doesn't stream from there.
I'm gonna register.
Dude, we'd all be freaking in prison. If,
Yeah, I'll have to register the LLC there. I'm trying to see who else is in there.
That gives an excuse that we'd have to go to Japan at least one time a year, right?
Yeah, I don't know that we'd make it out alive. If we
In
went,
Japan?
Yeah, if we went to Japan.
I'd probably join like a drifting gang.
I'd
And
definitely
then-
try to join a samurai gang for
Yeah.
sure. I want to be like Tom Cruise, the last samurai. You know,
Yeah. Let's start growing your hair out.
Gaijin. I want to be the last Gaijin.
The Gaijin.
How do you say avocado in Japanese?
I don't know, dude. All I know is Gaijin, and that was from Tokyo Drift.
His Japanese name would be
Gaijin
Avocado.
Carlos.
Yeah. Yeah, Gaijin Carlos.
Carlos Avocado. What is Matt doing?
He fell in, dude.
Matt, are you pooping?
No.
We have a couple voicemails. Someone named Charles gave Mercedes-Benz this phone number.
That's hilarious.
And they've left multiple messages.
It's like, sir,
About your extended warranty.
Yeah. No, it's about the car is ready, and there's a diagnostic fee and programming fee.
what a bunch of horse shit. They just hooked up a fucking computer to it, that little computer to it, and they're like, just got this guy for $250. And there's another $250 right there.
We got this Murano in the shop right now, and it needs an alternator. I have to pull the radiator fan, the radiator, the battery, and the battery box to get to the alternator.
Oh,
whoa.
my God. Murano.
This is one of those stupid sideways motors.
Oh, transverse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
I don't even give it the credit of like saying the actual name. I just call it a stupid sideways motor.
Sideways motors.
I know it's transverse, but the name's just as stupid as the design of the motor. So I just say that stupid sideways motor. An alternator should be like 15 minutes. It's going to take me like 4 hours. Plus a coolant flush.
Who was that? At that Toyota Fest, someone was saying that the turbo on the new Tundra has a turbo.
It has two of them.
And if you want to change it, you have to take the cab off of the frame to get to it.
Bullshit.
No.
That's what he said. That's what he said. I was like, what? Yeah, you have to raise the cab up off of the frame to get to it.
So I know those newer Silverado diesels, like the
Silverado's not a good platform for an off-road vehicle.
There's an issue with one of like the timing chains or something in the back where you have to take the cab off. Like
it seems like an unnecessary feat of engineering.
Yeah, I mean when you're designing the truck, they're like, you know what? What are the odds that that's gonna break? Let's just roll the dice here.
we had some dude bring a car in before, and I forget what it was he wanted done, but we were going to have to pull the motor out to do the work that he wanted to put it back in. And it was something stupid like the oil pan.
Oh, like at that point, just get a whole new motor.
I mean, there are some Ferraris that require 30,000 mile service intervals that require motor out servicing. Why? Like, why
at that point just trade it in? Trade it in at 29,000 and get a new one.
Yeah. I would drive it to 31,000 and then go get another one.
Yeah, I mean, you buy it brand new, right? Because you have an unlimited mile warranty for like 2 years. So you just drive the piss out of that thing, and then
on like a Lambo,
or
a Ferrari,
yeah. You just drive the fuck out of it, and you're like, I don't want it anymore.
You done?
Yeah, I was talking to your wife about punk bands.
What the shit, dude? We're sitting.
You know we're recording, right?
Yeah, it's Tuesday night. Did you need to pick up water from the grocery store?
And she started referencing Drive Like Jehu.
Oh yeah, I was going to tell you about that. She's been listening to a audiobook about sellouts, and it talks about
Green Day.
Drive Like Jehu. That's the whole thing.
It is. Starts off with Green Day.
3, 2, 1. So since Matt decided to take a break in between the show and go get some,
I had to go pee.
Go pee and talk to my wife. We'll get to Casey's story in just a minute.
Fell in.
Yeah.
Look, I can't pee as good as I used to pee. Okay. And the first time,
I can't stop once I've started. It stings.
Yeah. Let me tell you a little story. When I knew,
I don't want to know this story.
Here it goes. Well, I hear your stories. There was a time when I took the boys to a ball game. And now you're all peeing next to each other, and it's like, all right, kids, stay right by. You got to walk in with your kids. You're just gonna let them go into a stadium bathroom or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, let's hurry up, get back into line. We gotta get some nachos, whatever. And So we all step up at the same time. And it's like, I hear 2 fire hoses next to me, like, for 5 seconds, like, they done. And I'm just like, oh my God. All right, stand over by the door and wait until your dad's ready, because it's going to take a few minutes.
My trickle string.
Yeah, exactly. I went, oh my God. I gotta go to the doctor. I think I gotta have something checked out.
I bet you do twice a week. So
why is it gotta be? Should we drill down on what you just said? Because what does that mean? What does the twice a week mean?
Well, if you got to get your prostate checked, I could see you
should-
wanting
I
to
should
go
get it
twice,
twice a week.
I could
Okay.
see you wanting to go twice a week.
Okay.
So Casey was about to tell a story, and then I stopped him during the break because Matt was gone for so long.
I had
So
to pee.
so Casey, you were driving down the road, and what happened?
So I got pulled over. We were in Susan's Jeep. We had the boys, Zan and his friend, in the back because we were taking them down to mom and dad's, and I was driving. And do you know where Lake Williams is at on the 38?
Kind of.
So you kind of go past where it says Urban Lake, and you're headed towards San Gregonio. It hooks a left. It's a pretty steady climb, and then there's like that last little neighborhood on your left before there's nothing. That's Lake Williams, and it's a pretty steady climb all the way up. And I know I drive Susan's Jeep enough that I know like what gear it needs to be in at what RPMs to make it where it's like comfortable going up a grade, you know, like where it's not, the car's not laboring. I'm not going crazy fast. I'm not slugging along, whatever, because it does it wants to gear hunt a little bit. So I'm just cruising up this grade. The road kind of banks to the right and it's going up towards Onyx Summit, right? That's when you get to the highest point of the 38. Then it's all downhill from there.
Yep.
I was almost to Onyx Summit. This car pulled over for me to go by. I hit the flashers. Like 10 seconds later, I look in the mirror. I'm like, fucking awesome. I'm getting pulled over right now. It's a fucking highway patrol behind me with his lights on. Susan's like, no, you're not. Yeah, I'm being pulled over. So I pull over and he comes up. He goes, well, yeah, I pulled you over for speeding. I was like, I was speeding? He says, you didn't know you were speeding? I said, you know where Lake Williams is at? I said, he said, you were doing 80, right?
Hold on, you're breaking up a little bit.
I was doing 80? I don't think I was going that.
There you are. Yeah, so you got...
It's just a bunch of...
Yeah, I know. It's just sounds at this point. You broke up.
80.
So you're right at the beginning of the story. So he pulled you over and claimed you were doing 80
He says,
at Lake Williams.
Yeah, he says, you were doing 80 back there. I was like, what? I wasn't going that fast.
You're like, this truck doesn't go
Yes.
80.
And then he's like, well, then you slow down to 70 to maintain 70 for a while. And then I was like, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get to my wife's doctor's appointment. You know, she has a checkup. And he's, okay, give me your license and all that stuff. And then I give him my license. Susan's looking on her phone for the insurance card, you know. And so he steps to the front of the car and eyeballs it and comes back. And he's like, you got to have a cover on that light bar. I was like, I have it in the back. I'll put it on right now. He's like, well, hold on. Do you have the front license plate? I said, yes, it's under the seat. There's nowhere to mount it. I have to figure out how to mount it. He's like, okay, well, while you're looking for that insurance card, I'm going to go back to my car or whatever. He's there for 10 minutes.
I'm going to go back to the
Comes
cruiser.
back. Yeah. Comes back with his little book, sees the insurance card thing on Susan's phone. He goes, all right, well, it's a verbal warning for speeding. And then here's a fix-it ticket for the light bar and the license plate.
What?
Yeah. Now I have to do 80 the rest of the way down the fucking road because I'm running late now. Susan's like, there's no way my Jeep will go 80 up there. If I was trying to do 80 up that grade, Susan would have been screaming at me. The Jeep would have been RPM pegged, whining. There's no possible way. And you're telling me I was going almost 30 miles an hour over the speed limit? And you're just going to give me a warning?
Yeah.
A fix-it ticket for a fucking light bar and a license plate. Like, he was fishing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Was this?
There's no way I was doing 80 miles an hour up that thing.
If you were in the Frontier and he tried to pull you over, you could have just levitated up the mountain, like just turned off the road and just...
I would have been like, follow me.
You know,
follow me, bro.
that's
Hey,
right.
he's in an Explorer.
Oh yeah, no, he can't catch you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's like there's just on the way back coming up, I did the same thing. The way I always do it. It's like fourth gear, 3,000 RPMs, and I never went above 65 miles an hour.
Yeah.
If you would have said, "Hey, you were doing 65," I would have went, "Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm trying to comfortably get up this
But he
hill."
didn't give you a speeding ticket, though. I mean, it's not like
Well, and it's just the.
You think he's just sitting? Look, I could arrest you for having a Nixon hat on right now, you son of a bee. And then I'm going to go back to the cruiser and then come back and go, now I'm not going to arrest you on that Nixon hat, but here's a light bar fix-it ticket. Like, I don't know.
It's just the fishing. It's just there, he knows I wasn't going 80. There's no way I was doing 80 miles an hour. Not even 70.
I got in my TJ. So I had a TJ with 33-inch mud tires on it, and I was in Brea driving to work, and I got pulled over for speeding, and I was like, I pulled you over because you were speeding. I said, how was I possibly speeding? He's like, well, you went too fast, and I was like it was 100 yards away from the intersection, and I was at a red light, and the light turned green. I made a left-hand turn on Brea Boulevard. I can see the intersection from here. Do you know what kind of a runway I would need to get up to enough speed to be speeding? How was it? He wasn't hearing it. Gave me the ticket. It was physically. If I had gone back 10 times and throttled as hard as I can when the light turned green, there's no possible way I could have been speeding.
I have two interesting ticket stories. One, I think I've told before, on the 15 on the way to Razor Road to go ride my dirt bike in my new truck. I
don't think so.
Okay, well,
he pulled over like 3 of you guys.
He pulled over 5.
Yeah.
He pulled over 5 cars. Went right by me, and I went, whoosh, go get him, and then stopped the highway and waited until I came through and flagged me over. And then I had to sit there for 40 minutes while he gave a ticket to every single one of us. I didn't know those other people. I just saw people doing 90 and figured I can do 85.
He's not going to get all of us.
He can't get us all. Guess what? Guess what, motherfuckers? He can.
Yes, I can.
This dude will.
Is it dangerous? Like stopping the freeway?
He didn't give a shit.
He did it.
I am the police, motherfucker.
Yeah,
he did it. And while I was sitting there on the side of the highway, I thought, I'm like 5.5 miles from Razor Road. I'm in a truck. I could probably jump out now. By the time he runs back to the cruiser and I just floor it, maybe I can get to off the road and then I can get to camp and lose him. And I thought, you know what? One of these other motherfuckers sitting here is going to do that, and then we're all going to get us scot-free. I'll wait till one of those guys does it. Nobody did it. We all took our tickets, and I was like, I told him, that's the craziest shit I've ever seen. I didn't even know you could do that. And then the other ticket I had that I called into question, I was at Foothill and Rochester in Rancho Cucamonga, right where the Home Depot is, and the spaghetti factory, right? I'm getting ready to turn right onto Rochester from Foothill, going westbound.
You're going to Quakes.
I was going home. I lived in the apartments on the other side of Home Depot. And so the cop on the bike was turning left from Rochester eastbound onto Foothill. I'm on my phone. We made eye contact as I was about to turn right. And I'm like, this MFR, MFR is going to come get me. And I immediately dodged into the Home Depot parking lot, and he whipped around like, fuck. How did you, I don't know how he did it, because his light turned green, and I know he made the complete turn. It wasn't like he did a U-turn right there to get me. And he got me in the parking lot, and he's all, do you know why I pulled you over? Yeah, we both know why you pulled me over. You pulled me over for a cell phone ticket? Yeah, you were on your cell phone, right? Yeah, I mean, I was, but Jesus Christ, man. It's like I committed a capital crime how quickly you jumped on me for a cell phone ticket.
Dude, my wife
and he
got
was just
pulled
like,
over.
ticket's a ticket.
I got one of those.
My wife got pulled over because she was fixing her hair, just around her ear, and the cop thought she was on the phone and tried to hide it. And the cop's like, you were on your phone. She's like, what are you talking about? It's like, I saw you. You had your hand up to your head, and then you saw me through the phone. She was like, I was fixing my hair. My phone's in my purse. He's like, well,
Did he
this is
get
a warning.
the ticket?
No, it was like a warning.
See, I should have said I was fixing my hair.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, he would have.
Next time.
Hey, Case, how would you physically describe the cop that pulled you over?
No.
Yeah, do it.
No.
No. Why?
Yeah, no, I don't. I just want to carry on with whatever direction Jose is.
I am concerned
yeah.
about the direction Jose is going, but
If you had to describe him physically,
or
attractive?
her, or her, or her. It could have been a her.
yeah, he
You're-
or she.
you're a
middle-aged-
sex- you're a
hold
sexist,
on,
middle-aged
Jose.
hold on.
white dude.
There is
with
I
a-
miss Carlos.
a middle-aged white dude with an average build.
Average bill. Okay. I was gonna say he was grossly overweight, dude. Because he was
No.
getting you for your light bar and your license plate. Like
And-
clearly
and
he had nothing
straight-
to do.
Straight from the sheriff's mouth up here, the highway patrollers are dicks. The sheriffs up here don't like the highway patrols because we've asked them, hey, are those lights cool on my truck? Yeah, I don't give a shit. Just don't fucking turn them on the road. Do I have to have a cover on those? I don't care. Just don't fucking turn them on the road.
Yeah.
Right?
Just
And
be
don't let the highway patrol
responsible.
see you because they're going to give you a ticket.
Look, I get it. I'm not like the picture of health and fitness, but
Sure you are.
a guy that's pulling you over for
to me, you are.
a guy that's pulling you over for quote unquote speeding, and then also mentions your light bar and a license plate. Like,
It's sometimes you
They're-
get pulled over and you feel like, don't you have crimes to prevent? Like,
Yeah. No,
God
they're
damn
fishing.
it.
They're
They don't
fishing.
even
They're
do that.
hoping.
they don't.
They're
even do
hoping
that.
either you have like no license, no insurance, or you're drunk or high, or
What if
all,
you're-
of-
Warren
all of those things
or-
apply.
What if you're drunk
Whatever.
and high?
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So off the topic of law enforcement for a while, Jose, you've been cruising around. Oh, you haven't really been driving the Land Cruiser, have you?
No, I've taken it to work a couple days.
Yeah. What's any update on the ride quality with the Foam Cell Pro on there? I mean,
Great.
Still,
Yeah.
still good.
Still good.
Good. You know what? That's a high quality review. Thank you, Carlos. It's great.
He's like Bruce Willis in Fifth Element.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is Bruce Willis in Fifth Element. I will
good.
say that I watched the Tony Hawk documentary. Great, as Matt said. It was really, really good.
I
And-
said that.
And look, somebody fucking told me it was
Who
good.
brought it up?
I said
brought it
great.
up.
I said
Someone
great.
said it was good. I watched
What
it.
did I say?
I watched it, and
Did I
then
say greater?
I literally just said great.
Oh, okay.
so I watched it, and the part where they get to later, when the Pal Peralta team starts making the movies, and Future Primitive and the Search for Animal Chin.
Search for Animal Chin. So that's
Amazing.
legendary.
Yes.
Yeah.
I called Matt. And
We're getting skateboards.
no.
That's what I told you.
No.
Exact. I said the. You know I did.
Yes, you
Exact
did.
same thing. I'm all, dude. I'm not buying a skateboard. You can't convince me to buy a skateboard.
Oh, can you
I would be
imagine?
dead. I would be dead. But I told Matt that for I wanted to make T-shirts that said, "Have you seen him?" and put a picture of Carlos on them.
Search for Carlos
And we could
begins.
do a whole thing about a search for Carlos. And Matt,
what did I say?
Matt pointed out that it's already been done.
Yeah.
There's-
By-
the Wheeling Wine and Whiskey guys.
That's right.
The search for Lorenzo. I forgot about
Oh
it.
yeah.
But I just immediately thought that we got to figure out what a Carlos picture looks like, and then start the whole process of having.
I think
seen
Bill didn't
Yes,
Bill send us a
Danny O. I think it
Danny,
was. Yeah,
Danny.
Danny sent us the shot of the Instagram shot of.
He's like a farmer or something. He had like suspenders and stuff. Like, okay.
Or you could do the old bow nose shirt and just put Carlos nose. No.
No. We could use pictures of Carlos, my dog, and
It's just a dog to most people, though. You
It
know?
is just a dog to most people, though. Anything else? Anything else exciting going on? I mean, Casey,
Have any of us done any off-roading? Like, we
No.
are an off-road show. I mean, you
No.
would think at
We
least...
just built Joey D's
Oh, yeah, I
Gladiator
saw
on
that.
Saturday.
Oh,
yeah, that's
Came out badass.
I'm excited to see how that.
what were the details on that build?
He posted up.
AEV spacer lift, 37-inch BFGs, Raceline Avenger, not beadlocks, just Raceline Avengers.
This is his the new Gladiator he got.
Gladiator Mojave, and then we did the Artex skids, full aluminum skids, and some Apex sway bar links.
Tim's like, it looks the same.
I disagree.
That's funny.
So yeah, we'll have to see that on the next trip. Hopefully he brings that out. Casey and I had talked about the Pure 4x4 event coming up in August, about trying to get a couple booths there, and I started the process and emailed those guys, and then I got super busy and didn't get back to them. So I'll try to follow up on that.
What event is this?
It's Pure 4x4. It's an event in Big Bear called Base Camp.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we looked at that, and
I recall Base Camp.
Yeah, and it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'd like for us for the show to participate, but like I said, I started the email process and then got sidetracked, so haven't registered for that. But that's something that we may want to try to pull off in August.
Hey, Case, did you go to that event? And there's like that big event, like 4x4 event, like last weekend.
Donde?
There was
Big
this
Bear.
past weekend was Bronco Bash.
No, then the
Everybody
week
took
before.
turns bashing.
Oh, you're talking about no, it was the
Where was
that's,
I?
Weekend off road.
Yes.
Or-
yes.
No, we were working. I thought about it, but we had just stuff going on. But we reached out to them and let them know we're available on Saturday if you guys need anything. We're here at the
okay.
shop. But yeah, but there's another one here. Not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. The 4-wheel parts. I forget what it's called. The
Are they bashing?
camp out or something like that.
Are they going to bash anything? Because I have plenty of bats. I have a sledgehammer.
Are we gonna
Like,
bash at your
Bring,
house?
bring it.
That's what I'm saying. I'll bash, especially Broncos or Rangers or whatever. I'll pay.
That was this last weekend. The Bronco Bash. The whole
man.
town was just flooded with old and new Broncos.
To bash.
Okay. All right.
That sounds pretty. It was just a bunch of people like cruising around in their Broncos, like
No,
like a cruise thing.
it's similar to like the Jeep Jamboree or Forest Fest or something like that. But
When
it's
are we gonna
all
start
Broncos.
something
So they go out
frontier?
and
What can we call a
hit
frontier event?
Frontier
Fuckery.
Yeah.
It's the frontier fuck around.
It's the frontier fuck around. It's not very popular, or it depends on where we promote it, I guess. Frontier fuck around.
there's this page I started following on Instagram. It's like SoCal Nissans, and they've been putting together
Oh,
like
yeah.
day runs locally here in
Yeah.
SoCal. So we got to jump on one of those.
Yeah. I think that's something we really need to get back into is the
Off-roading?
Yes, Jose.
Yes.
But like just going on events like that, I think I recall doing a Cleghorn run, and there was a group, some club or whatever, just four-wheeling, and we just stood there at an interchange and just hand out stickers while they waited in line. And like, hey man, my name's Matt. I have a podcast. We talk about shit like this. Here's a sticker. We probably tripled our listenership.
That was early
that
on.
day.
That was
Yeah.
Tacoma 3G.
So-
yeah.
Well, no, like it was probably a year later. I know Mike.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Came on board at that point. Or
And you could probably do that any Saturday or Sunday.
Of
There's
course,
some sort of group running Cleghorn.
100%. We could just set up a permanent base camp somewhere at Cleghorn and just kick out stickers or just be a part of the scene for sure.
Yeah. So we need to we know we need to plan something. It's been
But it's hot outside, and
it's-
the pool is very refreshing. I was in the pool this weekend. It was amazing. I'll be honest with you. There's like times where you're like, is it worth having the pool? I mean, I got to clean that thing all the time. Dude, I took my pressure washer. I cut 2 toes on the top of my foot with my pressure washer because it just happened to like waft it across the top of my foot.
You got some of that rust. You got some more rust, huh? Came back.
Shut up, Jose. No, I was just taking care. Look, you could either go out there with that dumb brush and the pole or whatever, with the brush and the pole, and start scrubbing, or you can just get the power washer out and just blow all that. That's how you clean your pool. That's how a real man does it. And then he cuts himself on the top of his foot.
Yeah, like how bad is that cut?
It's not as much a cut; it's a bruise that bleeds.
Matt bruised his toes with water. I feel like that's a new level of.
It's like a new low.
You ain't that field tech.
That's
anymore,
going in the
man.
documentary.
That's good. What would the
Sadly, that's like things turned had a traumatic turn downward when he wafted his power washer
Across.
over
It was
his
just
toes.
a
And things-
regular
everything took
Sunday.
it was a regular Sunday where he was frolicking at the pool and he decided to pull out the power washer and it would
when
never
tragedy
be the same.
strikes.
And it would never be the same from then again. All right, well, whatever. Maybe that's probably the interesting part to my story.
Tim has an unhealthy infatuation with my calves.
Let's start with why.
Can you post a picture of him?
Yeah, why and how was he exposed to your calves in the first place?
The
Why
first
are you going
comment
around
was
exposing
on
your calves?
some like a golf video. Like I posted a
Oh,
picture of us golfing.
all
And-
right.
Is that on your
He was
OnlyFans
like-
page?
Look at those calves. Yeah, all fans.
Can you repost it?
He's mentioned them like 3 times already in the chat room tonight. I'm kind of blushing over here.
I could tell you're in the green room and your face is red.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think the moral of the story is don't get pulled over and not have your license
all the way back
plate
to
and
pulling over with the cops. You changed the subject from cops and you just brought it back to the cops.
Well,
Yeah, you're the-
what I'm doing is I'm trying to wrap it all up here because we're kind of just rambling. So I
we
was
have
going to
new
try.
reviews.
Okay, then let's. Thanks for the segue, fellas.
I
Roll right into those.
I like the rambling. I think that's the fun part.
Let's roll. Jose, tell us about those reviews. You have one more week, by the way. All reviews that are in by June 21st will be from
Qualify for
from March or May.
Is it a new
from
Bronco we were going to get?
May 21st to June 21st,
Gladiator?
where they were going to get
I'm
raffle
going to wait something
prizes.
pretty amazing.
Like
Go-
a trip to
Jose,
Belize or something.
Jose, go.
This is from Easy Like Sunday Mornings. It's titled Still a Thing. It just says 6/9/22. It's a podcast. 2020, an eclectic group of automotive enthusiasts sharing their life experiences on and off the trail. The exuberant amount of knowledge that is shared by Jose is well complemented by the Maverick Matt's whimsical demeanor. Oh, and there's Cody too.
Yeah.
I like Maverick Matt. It's got a good ring to it.
Oh,
Matt
so I get
Maverick?
it. So that was, I guess, the description in 2020. What's the description in 6/9/22? Is it a podcast? What are we now? Like it's that's what I got from the way this reads.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yes.
Sure. Was that the only one?
No, there's one more.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go to the next one.
This one's also Dave from Oregon. Great podcast that is sitting. I can't read the rest of the title. This is a great laid back, fun podcast that is like sitting around drinking beer and talking off road with your buddies. Sometimes one or two of your buddies drinks too much and hilarity ensues. In all seriousness, I have listened to the Trail Chasers podcast from episode 1. It is impressive to see the growth in quality and high caliber guests without them forgetting who they are or where they came from. Even if they like to forget where they came from sometimes. I mean, I came from Ontario.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not much to brag about.
No.
Montclair.
The Onta.
Ontario with an E.
Yes.
Chaffee High School. Go Tigers.
Yes.
Boo. Boo.
Was that it? Just the two?
That's the two.
Well, thanks, Dave from Oregon. Who's the other one? Easy Like Sunday Morning?
Yeah.
Thank you guys for the review. We will put together that raffle. We're up to how many do we have now? I mean,
Probably like 10.
10 from the last month. So if right now we're
Look, those are good odds to win stuff.
Yes.
I think we start another one, but whatever. We can talk about it.
Yeah.
We only have so many gladiators to give away.
yeah.
And
As we're recording this, it is June 14th. You have until June 21st, 2022 to get a review in to be entered into a raffle. and potentially
Well,
win
that's
something.
like the start of the show, June 21st, right?
Yeah, by the time we start the show,
6:30.
yes.
Okay.
So next week,
Wherever time zone you are, if you're in the Philippines, somehow that was a thing like last year.
yes,
Somebody had like a fucking, oh no, I thought you guys were starting whatever goddamn time zone that was. Like, I don't know, dude. This is America.
Yeah. He was traveling when he accepted the invite. That's why. Okay. Well, thank you guys for the reviews. We
So we
appreciate
get for
it.
trying to get Howard Hughes on the show, or
And
why did I choose Howard?
I don't know.
Hughes right
I know
there?
you're off the rails. And thank you to Amy Lerner for joining us. Please go check out her film and watch it and see all the things that she's doing. We will. Jose's absolutely right. We need to do some off-roading. Matt's absolutely right. We need to do more events. Casey's usually not right about anything because he didn't say anything good today. And we'll.
I think you said a lot of good things, Casey.
He did. He always.
Thank
does.
you, Matt. Thank you.
He always does.
Yeah.
But we'll try to. I know we say it every week but we legitimately try. There's a conversation every week about it, and we just haven't been able to nail anything down. But once we do,
Like, let's go to freaking Morocco.
yeah, we can't put together a 6-hour stretch
Surely I
of
could find
off-roading.
a frontier in Morocco to run a race
I
in.
bet you could.
I mean, come on.
Hey, we'll just rent a car.
Yes, I bet you could. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We appreciate it, and we will talk to you next week.